Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Marvel Movie News.
Good morning, you merry Marvelites, and welcome back to Marvel Shield News. That's right, it's Marvel Shield News Day today on Marvel Movie News. We're coming to you live from the Shield Academy because I get to talk about Shield today, guys. So I'm going to talk about it a lot. But there's other stuff that we're going to do today. We're going to talk about Sam Raimi getting confirmed for Doctor Strange 2. We're going to talk about some fan casting stuff for people who are saying they're interested in being in a Marvel project. I'll tell you who. And some Taika Waititi nonsense that happened last week. We're going to get silly. I'm not the only one here yelling about S.H.I.E.L.D. We've also got... keep looking at these photos of the two of you.
What?
Christian Bladt.
She just looks normal, but that is always funny. Look, I don't know where the two of you have been. I don't know where Ryan's been. I have to keep myself and my family safe.
Protect yourself, Christian.
Thank you. All right, I'm gonna trust that I'm okay. I've used the best Stark technology in here. Hi, I'm Christian Bladt, and you're not.
And who Christian is really protecting himself from? It's Xia Anderson.
Very
Always.
true. Yeah.
And you better. Never mind. I was gonna make a joke. Don't do it though.
You're just not clean.
Just
so that's why
stop.
I'll make
both of you stop. I know where this is going. I know you two well enough. Just stop right there. But thank you guys so much for joining us on another pantsless edition of Marvel Movie News. Whoops, I said too much. Let's talk some Marvel, guys. I mean, like I could ask you how you're doing, but it's fine. Whatever. I did that before.
We're great.
Yeah,
Let's
we're
have
fine.
fun. The big story, our lead story for this week is Sam Raimi confirms that he is going to be directing Doctor Strange 2. We already kind of knew about this. It leaked like 2 months ago, roughly, at this point. I don't understand what time is anymore. So it's sort of appropriate for Doctor Strange. But time is irrelevant. But now we know that Sam Raimi is working on Doctor Strange 2. Very exciting. What do you guys think? We've talked about it before, but let's start fresh. What do you think of Sam Raimi for Doctor Strange 2?
I think it's perfect. I like that you're pointing on my screen. When I look at it, you're pointing to the AfterBuzz TV box.
No, I wanted Ryan to cut you off. That's what
okay. I see. Well, that makes perfect sense then. I'm excited about it.
So what
honestly.
I think, no joke, sorry.
Perfect timing.
What if the four of us all lived in a house for 5 weeks? Anyway,
Oh
Zia,
my God.
what do you think, Zia?
We would all hate each other. I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited. We haven't seen Sam Raimi work on any sort of a Marvel property since obviously the first 3 Spider-Man. We don't talk about the third one. We don't talk about old shit. It's fine. We've got 1 and 2 are good. 1 and 2 are really good.
Don't talk about old shit.
We don't talk about old shit. 1 and 2 are really good. So I'm really excited to see what he does with Doctor Strange. And, reading into it a little bit more, he was, during the roundtable where he was promoting, it was like a Quibi show. It's a horror show. So I think he'll be able to bring that spin to it. It'll be really nice. That sort of dark, horror elements that they're going for. But he also did a great job with lightheartedness and humor in Spider-Man. So I think he'll be able to balance at least a little bit of that well. And I think maybe make why is my brain not working all of a sudden? Disney.
I mean, you know the answer. So
Doctor Strange.
I
no,
think,
make him make the Disney anyway.
MCU?
Make him happy, huh?
Mickey Mouse.
No.
Rock 620 in the chat says this is redemption for Spider-Man 3.
It's
And
redemption
yeah,
for
that's what I was going to say is
Yeah.
Sam Raimi obviously did 2 great Spider-Man movies and then phoned in a third one. So I think that I'm very excited. Look, Zach and I and some other people online, we rewatched the Sam Raimi Spider-Man. So at that point it wasn't confirmed, but that helped me get very excited. I'm like, man, imagine this guy doing Doctor Strange. So I think it'll be great. I think he has a great way to sort of blend different elements, and it'll be in a way that obviously those aren't MCU movies. MCU is going to be very happy. Disney's going to be very happy with the way he's able to bring his touch to Doctor Strange. And look, I'm very excited about it. I love the character Doctor Strange. I think Benedict Cumberbatch does a good job, except for the fact that they made him do that stupid American accent, but I'll get over it. Apart from that, I think that I've always liked him, but this is just, I'm much more excited for a movie I was already looking forward to, knowing that Sam Raimi's involved. I think this could actually be one of the greats.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I'm excited about is it's gonna be different, I think, than what we were gonna get otherwise. Like they went out and got, like, yes, he did Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, but really they went out and got a horror director to do Doctor Strange. Like, I'm less excited. Look, obviously he knows how to handle a superhero from the Spider-Man movies, but this is also Sam Raimi, who directed Evil Dead. And that's what really gets me excited, is like, this is a guy who knows the horror genre and also knows superheroes. And so to blend the two of them together with Doctor Strange, and he's talked about being a fan of Doctor Strange before. We mentioned it once. It's because he made a reference to Doctor Strange in Spider-Man 2, like a throwaway reference, but it's in there. Like, this is a guy who knows Doctor Strange, and I'm excited to see what he does with it. And I've just looked up at my shelf because I'm in my home, and I'm realizing I'm not drinking out of my Doctor Strange mug, and I feel like a failure.
How did? Zachary.
Well, I grabbed an Avengers mug instead. I mean, come on. I did my best.
I used my Avengers mug this morning, so now I have my Totoro mug.
Also in the chat, Charles Lee says, based on the one scene in Spider-Man 2, the Dr. Octopus surgery scene, and his film Drag Me to Heck, Raimi can do a PG-13 movie and have it actually be scary. I'm sure that there'll be the right level of scares that'll make sure that I don't show this movie to my children for like 10 years.
Yeah, no, I just think that he's going to do a good balance. And I think he'll do a great service to Doctor Strange, the character, as well. I think that's what I was saying in the roundtable. He said that Doctor Strange was like his 5th favorite superhero, but he's still on the list. He's still like within that top 10.
Top 5 is still great.
Top 5 is still great. Yeah.
And you know what? When we have to generate content like this for a few more weeks, we can probably do that. Like, all of our 5th favorite superhero is going to be somebody amazing. You know,
of course.
I mean, the number 5 favorite superhero. I mean, it's,
I would say even up to like number 10.
Yeah, I mean, most of mine are taken up by X-Men, you know?
Yeah.
So by the time you get to number 5,
Same.
it's still somebody great.
Same.
Yeah. And look, I'll be honest, Doctor Strange, not my 5th favorite. He might be in the top 10. He might be more of a top 15 guy for me. It's a great character, but there's a lot of competition. Yeah.
There's so many good characters.
So I don't hold it against Sam Raimi for saying that he's his 5th favorite. And
me neither.
Steve Cullum in the chat also pointed out that he had said his 5th favorite. So I wanted to give him credit.
Yeah. And look, it's not like Doctor Strange is not a
go.
There
it is.
It's not like he's that 5th is pretty high.
5th is high
on your list.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
as long as it's if it's in your top 10, I think I'm satisfied. Because, like, look,
pretty much what we were
you're also talking about a guy who, like, literally directed Spider-Man. I have to imagine that Spider-Man is up there.
Oh, I think Spider-Man was his 1st or 2nd, if I remember correctly.
Exactly. That's right. But like, so now you've got 4 slots left, and like, who knows what other characters have deep meaning to him? Doesn't mean he's precluded from loving Doctor Strange.
Great comment in the chat from Eon 001. They fire a horror director only to bring in a horror director. I think it's a funny point, but it's also, you feel like this is a guy who's going to have a vision that that Disney and Feige can really work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's less that they fired a horror director and more that they fired somebody who, or split ways with, because it actually, this is one case where I think, based on what's been said, it seemed like a mutual splitting, because Scott Derrickson has actually talked about the movie since. Usually if there's a true blow up, falling out, like you look at the Lord and Miller fallout over Solo, they don't talk about that at all. Like, they won't talk about it.
Right.
But Scott Derrickson, when the news about Raimi broke, was posting about how much he loves Sam Raimi as a director. Like, that to me is that when you have a split up, that's like having a split up with an ex and complimenting the new relationship that they get into.
Right.
Like it clearly
That's how
was
you know it was a
mutual.
great,
Yeah,
a great breakup.
if you're okay, if you're cool, like complimenting the new boyfriend.
That's a great analogy, Zach.
Yeah, but that's what it is. So like,
Yeah.
I think it was more like, look, what Feige and Marvel wanted to do was a little bit different from what Scott Derrickson wanted to do.
Kevin
and
Feige, that's the name I was trying to remember. I'm so sorry. That's my brain
I've
kept
said
thinking
his
Bob
name
Iger, and I
3
was like,
times
no.
since you had that brain fart. I've said his name 3 times since then.
Well, I don't listen to what you say, so
That's fair.
I have more authority than you, Christian.
Yeah.
That's true. And Cam Egan, let me just, since we took a pause, Cam Egan says, I want a Bruce Campbell cameo in Doctor Strange. So do you think there's any chance that we
Bruce
don't
Campbell
get
said
Bruce
he would
Campbell?
do it.
Yeah, so Bruce Campbell
he'll
is
be
He
in it.
said he would do it.
he's
It'll happen.
actively campaigning for
Yes.
it now. Like he's
Can we?
posting online about like, so Sam, what you doing there?
Yes.
So like, I would say it is very likely. The only way that it
That'd be
wouldn't
awesome.
be is if like Feige had some other plan for Bruce Campbell. But what other plan could he possibly have?
Yeah, I mean, if he's going to not have a cameo because he has a large role in the film, we'll also take that.
Yeah, that would be great too.
I meant if he had like in a different movie, like Kevin Feige's
yeah.
like, well, I thought of Bruce for this thing, and it's like,
Mm-mm.
don't burn him for that.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think that like there's a lot of fun ways you could use Bruce Campbell. I actually think like if they still are doing Nightmare as the rumor, that could be a really fun way to do it.
Our very own
awesome.
Ryan, Mr. Fantastic, has a hot take in the chat that I'd like him to share on
How
the show.
dare
Go
you.
ahead, Ryan, jump in.
Oh,
I mean, the movie's called Multiverse of Madness. Tobey Maguire is making an appearance in some way or another in this movie.
I mean, I wouldn't hate that.
I would not
I
hate
wouldn't.
that.
I wouldn't hate if him and Andrew Garfield are playing doubles tennis.
I would
you
love
know?
that so much.
I think that they're we talked about this when the news first broke. It seems like it would be so likely. That said, you're venturing into complicated legal territory at that point because like that's a Sony movie. And like, we don't really know what the relationship is like between Disney and Sony right now. Like they obviously worked it out for 2 more movies that they're going to share, but it's gotta be pretty contentious at this point,
So
right?
I don't know if if it's necessarily a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man cameo, but I'm telling you, I think Tobey Maguire is going to make an appearance in this movie, whether it's him as Uncle Ben in some kind of multiverse flashback, whether it's him just like as another version of another Spider-Man, similar to what we got with like J. Jonah Jameson. I think we're getting Tobey Maguire in this movie, and when that happens,
I mean, do you think it could be could he be like a barista at Starbucks? You know, just there as a cameo? Do you think that's possible, Ryan?
I'd love if he played the character from Spider-Man 3 who's like Rent, and it's just another version of that.
What if you know what? Here's how you get around the Sony legal complications. You have Tobey Maguire play an alternate reality version of Doctor Strange. Or you just don't name him. He's just an alternate reality sorcerer supreme, and you just let the belief go into fan lore that the Sam Raimi Spider-Verse Peter Parker became sorcerer supreme at some point.
Wow, I would love that.
Because like they don't have rights to Tobey Maguire, so if you just cast him in a different role,
yeah.
Yep.
Xeno Hour with a Xeno Hour with a salient point. Make Bruce Campbell Johnny Blaze, you cowards. So I love that idea.
I like that idea a lot.
I don't hate it. I don't know if I love it, but I don't hate it.
He'd be a good Johnny Blaze.
It's not my Nick Cage, Gabriel Luna duo Ghost Riders pick, but I'd take it.
Nobody tells Nick Cage what to do, so you might have to move on from Nick Cage. If Nick Cage doesn't want to be Ghost Rider anymore, he's not going to be Ghost Rider anymore.
But my question is, does Nick Cage actually say no to anything?
He hasn't yet.
Let's be real.
Oh boy. Well, anyway,
sorry, Nick Cage.
Sam Raimi. Do you guys have any other thoughts? I mean, like we kind of knew this was coming. Like they hired his production designer to come in to work on this. Like it was coming.
It was coming.
So I'm glad that it's like it's like more or less official now that so that he confirmed it. We obviously don't even know when it's going to start shooting, because it was supposed to start shooting around June, and now most estimates around Hollywood suggest the earliest anything could get back into production would be September. So we'll have to see. We have to wait and see what happens there.
September. Wow.
Yeah, that's like the most like liberal estimates say that maybe you'll see some production start up in July, but the complications around that, I was literally reading an article last night that just went through all of the steps that movies are going to have to take now. It's good. This is going to make every production longer, because you're going to have an hour to an hour and a half of just like sanitizing your workforce.
Right.
And checking temperatures and like being careful, and like maybe there was talk about like you put your entire crew up in a hotel for the length of production, because
so it's going to become more expensive as well on top of it.
Yes, I mean, like, crew costs is like, it's obviously an expense. That's not as like detrimental of a cost as all, but you have to also protect your actors. Like, there's just so many complications that go into any of this.
Do you think that that's going to have to be something they think about, even if production starts back up again in September?
Oh, yeah.
So it's just going to be like, no matter when it starts, it's going to have to be.
It's going to be like that until we have a vaccine.
Okay.
Like, that's just the reality of the situation, is like you're dealing with a dangerous situation that no one can truly be prepared for. You have to take extra steps and extra precautions, because if you have an outbreak, your whole production shut down for another like several months. And if you get your actors sick, because remember, they can't obviously wear masks the whole time.
Right.
Maybe a few of them can. Well, I guess like Tom Holland.
I was going to say, you got a few actors who are going to wear masks for most of the time, but I do know what you mean. Yeah.
But but like, look, when you have scenes where you're close together, like, you obviously can't be 6 feet apart, and like you have to be clear. Like, crowd shots become super complicated, because like you have a bunch of extras that like in theory had to get super close to people. You got to check all of those people. It's complicated. It's just a very complicated situation. And so September seems hopeful, but like, even that's, who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But the point is, Doctor Strange, in theory, next year.
Okay. That'd be awesome.
In theory.
That'd be awesome.
We can hope. I believe it was next November is the new date. I forget. It's like I had all the old dates in my head, and now they're all useless information.
Yeah, Zach, we don't talk about old shit. Sorry.
Wow.
Well, we talked about
Xia.
Lord and Miller definitely don't talk about old shit. That's what you were saying before.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's I don't know. I think that everybody's still
5th.
guessing on when any of this stuff will go into production. You know, it's very hard to predict. I mean, the odds that all the schedule for unfinished movies could also get pushed again, very likely, but we'll see. So,
yeah,
it's very hard to predict. I feel like, when movies are definitely coming out for sure, Black Widow will come out probably November, but we'll see. I think anything else, it's still a little hard to predict, especially something that hasn't started yet.
Knock on wood.
Just starting up your production is tough. And it's something like Eternals that they're at least underway. We'll see.
Yeah, we've talked about this situation to death. Let's move on to some of the fun that's come out of this nonsense, which will, because like people have been doing so much live streaming from home, and just like getting weird as like you start to go a little bit stir crazy. I haven't gone crazy at all. The scribbles behind me notwithstanding. But Taika Waititi, we're gonna jump around it a little bit in the rundown, guys. But Taika Waititi did a live stream last Friday. Was last Friday or Thursday? I don't know. Time is irrelevant. But he did a live stream from home where he was gonna watch along Thor Ragnarok with everybody from home. But it sort of devolved into just like chaos and absurdity very, very quickly.
Of course it did.
Like, I tuned in right as he said he was gonna start it, and the first like 10-15 minutes was him like picking rosemary out of his garden so that he could make dinner for his kids.
Aww.
It was, but he was just carrying his phone around and like being like, "Oh yeah, we can make some lamb." It was so funny. It was ridiculous, but he did have some fun with it as well. Like, he was I wouldn't say he was dropping like facts so much, but he was like clearly having a good time. He called in Mark Ruffalo at one point. I think Tessa Thompson called in. I wasn't there for that part, but like he and Mark Ruffalo were just like talking. It was like eavesdropping on their Skype call. It was very weird. They're just screwing around on Instagram Live. But one of the things that he quote unquote let slip was a page from an unreleased movie. As he's like, he did show off like what may or may not be real concept art of Meek from the next movie. It's like armored Meek, but it looks like tall, sexy robot Meek.
So weird.
Like it's got curves because he did one of the things he did like make sure to confirm like Meek is essentially, I mean he refers to Meek as a girl, as a woman, which makes sense. I mean they do talk about Meek laying eggs in Thor Ragnarok,
Right. They do. It's a good point.
But like so Meek is a girl. So it's this, look up the photo. We can't share it because of just like our tech stuff, but look it up. It's very ridiculous. But as he was moving that picture aside, there was a script page underneath it. And I thought that we could just do a Marvel Movie News Theater.
It's been a while since we've done this.
Yeah, and read the script out loud on the air, because why not? Why don't we just dive right into it? We've already divvied up the parts. Xia, let us know when you're ready.
Okay, I think I'm ready. I'm going to try my hardest to read this because it's a little bit hard to read.
Yeah, it's screenshots from an Instagram live photo video. So like, bear with us. All right, Xia, kick us off. Action.
Okay. Thor squints, trying to make out the figure before him.
Doth mineth eyeth deceiveth me?
No, the smoke clears and the figure standing before him is Tony?
Oh. What's up?
I already messed it up. Tony Stark. He's alive. Perfectly normal.
You're back.
In the mask, baby.
Tony and Thor hug.
But how? I saw you die.
Science. And also Thanos is back.
Mother frigga, no. So
Beat.
we're assembling again?
Again. It's go time.
Tony pushes a button on his Stark watch and within seconds suited up again. Iron Man is back. Only this time something covered in decals. All the flags of every nation on
Earth.
Oh gosh. Okay. I can only see part of it on one and then I have to go down the other one to see the rest of it.
You're interrupting the flow of the script, Xia.
Everyone who died is coming back, and this time we're avenging even more than ever. From now on, we'll be known as the Avengers.
There's another line, Xia.
I can't see it.
Thor smiles for Tony, for Earth, for Asgard.
And scene.
Well, that was a train wreck, but thank you for bearing with us, Chip.
That was terrible.
I had some pretty awesome glasses on. Let's give me credit for that.
You get the credit.
Okay.
You can have the credit for that.
Thank you.
But yeah, so basically Taika Waititi went out of his way to write a fake script to show off on the air, and it was perfect.
By the way, I do think that the next Avengers movie should be called The Avengers.
The Avengers.
Yeah, The Avengers. I think that'll be a good title.
But yeah, I just appreciated that. He did so that was super fun. There was some other stuff that he did talk about while he was on the air. He made, like, other than Sexy Meek, he did mention that he loves Beta Ray Bill when somebody asked if Beta Ray Bill was going to be in Love and Thunder. He obviously did not confirm anything about that. He did say that Silver Surfer is not in the movie. Yeah.
Lame.
But I liked this quote from the stream where he was talking about Love and Thunder, and he said, "It makes Ragnarok feel like a run-of-the-mill, really safe film. this new movie feels like we asked a bunch of 10-year-olds what they wanted to see and then just said yes to every single thing. I mean, I guess after Thor Ragnarok's success, Disney is just like, do what? Yeah. What do you want to do? Just do it. You made us so much money. Just go do the thing. So they're just like he's just gonna take a bigger swing with this one.
Yeah, and I think he should. I mean, just look at his output. I mean, he did something incredibly inventive outside of the MCU in the way of Jojo Rabbit. So it's like, what's in your head? Great, let's put that in the MCU. And Thor really lends himself to kind of a bit of an insane vision. I do want to share some of the feedback to our little performance piece.
Why?
Ghost 8386 says, "Damn it, Xia." Rock 620, who's usually a huge proponent and a big supporter of all of us, especially Xia. That was incredibly awful. Gamer Girl, one of the nicest people in her chat. I should have muted it, but Post 8386 comes back around and says, I give it a B+. So he clearly graded on a curve. No Professor Charles Xavier like grading there, so thank you.
I just couldn't see it. I just couldn't see it well enough to read it. I was
really
like, what am I looking
While you
at?
guys were talking, I was actually reading it over, trying to decipher everything. So but then also I was trying to keep the glare off my glasses. That's why that was fun, because
wow,
it was terrible.
Well, anyway, the last bit of the stuff that was in there for because he was talking about Korg, because obviously Taika Waititi plays Korg, and he did confirm Korg is going to be in this movie because of course. But he also said we're going to touch on Korg's origin. He said where he's from. If you look in the comics about Cronins, it's an interesting thing about where they come from. So we're going to see more about Korg. That'll be fun. Like I would can you I can just picture it though, because they're going to go meet Korg's family and we're going to meet his stepdad, who he mentioned in Thor Ragnarok. And they're all gonna he's gonna get all New Zealanders to play them. That's my prediction, is they're all gonna be New Zealanders talking with that same accent, and I cannot wait for it. But speaking of Taika Waititi, somebody else really likes Taika Waititi, and it turns out that man is Nick Offerman, aka Ron Swanson. Who normally we don't bother with stories like this, but like I'm such a huge fan of Nick Offerman. So when he said he's open to doing a Marvel role, like he's like, yeah, especially if Taika Waititi's involved, I'll come running. I thought it would be fun to try to fan cast Nick Offerman for a moment, because that sounds so good and like so much fun. I'll kick it off because like we just talked about it, but I think honestly, Beta Ray Bill for Nick Offerman, like just a very matter of fact, like foil from a horseman's face with Nick Offerman's voice. Like, come on, especially opposite Chris Hemsworth Thor would be beautiful.
Well, I was trying to take into consideration his well-known facial hair. Of course, it's just a mustache, but then I had what I felt like was it's a very unconventional bit of an epiphany. I would like to see him as Hercules. Now, look, he's not the right body type, but neither was Chris Pratt when he was also on Parks and Rec, and look what they did. I feel like you can get him in shape. But just if you get past that, just think about his delivery, him inhabiting the character of Hercules. I feel like he could get a trainer, go on that Hugh Jackman diet, and or the Kamal Nanjiani diet. I feel like he could probably pull that off, because unfortunately some of the greatest mustaches in the MCU have already been cast. Really number one's J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, he would have been one of the few people I would have accepted as a new casting for J. Jonah Jameson. He would have been great in that role, but obviously you can't do better than just going out and getting J.K. Simmons to do it again.
I really can't think of anyone, because I'm going to be honest with you. I never watched Parks and Rec, and I've never seen him in anything else. I don't know him very well except for kind of his face.
You know what? He would
Sorry.
probably appreciate that. He would probably appreciate not being known by you, or at least Ron Swanson would appreciate it. I don't know about Nick Offerman, but Ron Swanson would love to just not be known. And I don't mean you in particular. He just wants to not be known by anyone.
By
He just
anybody.
wants to sit at his desk and not do work. So
Does the chat have anybody for us?
Well, Charles Lee says Nick Offerman is MODOK. That's interesting. That's an interesting
That's
idea.
crazy, but I like it. I like it.
It would work. It would, but like I feel like having Patton Oswalt and Nick Offerman playing MODOK is like too close in a way. Like not that they're the same, not that they're similar characters, but they're both like the same sensibility in terms of humor.
I'm sorry. Gamer Girl says he looks big enough for the Thing.
He did talk about the Thing, actually.
Not a bad character.
Which that could like it's a different take.
Yeah.
Like to be honest, it's hard for me to get it better than Michael Chiklis because Michael Chiklis was so perfect.
He was perfect
as the
really
Thing.
was.
Yes.
Like yes, foam rubber suit, whatever, but like you'll never cast Ben Grimm better than Michael Chiklis.
I agree.
And a Nick Offerman, like that is a different take that could be super fun. I'll buy that. I'll buy Ben Grimm for Nick Offerman in a big way. I'm about it.
There's also Daniel Drew says, LOL, the Watcher.
There's a lot of them. He doesn't have to be Watu. He can be one of the Watchers.
No,
That's
I
actually-
demand
I can see
he
that.
be our Watcher. Like
Alright.
he has to be watching over the
Mustache
Earth. But
or
also
no
like
mustache,
what?
Mustache or no mustache?
Mustache.
Okay. Because I can't visualize him without it.
But we've also cast that character already as well. Like Jeffrey Wright is the Watcher. That character's
Carlito
not
Lee.
available. Just saying.
That'd be awesome.
Mephisto.
Oh.
You know what? I actually don't hate that. Like just from the little bit I've known about it and like the thought, I don't hate that.
Oh man, that'd be so. That's like a sort of like Surtur. It's like sort of crouching on like what they did with Surtur, where he's like he's like an intimidating devil figure, but he's sort of silly. Might be a problem there, but I would love to see him play a big bad evil guy.
Carlito Lee, this is off topic a little bit, but I just like it. Dinklage is still my dream cast for MODOK.
I see where you're coming from, like that. Like
Yeah.
he's smarter than everyone else in the room and is just like complete like manipulating everyone. But also, guys, Peter Dinklage is already in the MCU.
I know
He
he
is, yeah.
is.
Like I know it wasn't a huge role, but he did play. He was in Endgame.
Oh, here's an interesting one. Rock 620 says Nick Offerman is Galactus.
Yeah, I saw Ryan is suggesting him as Beast.
Beast.
And
I don't
let's see,
hate that.
there's a Champion of the Universe in there, so there's a few, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think look, we're just as open to having him in the MCU as he apparently is to being in it. You know?
Yeah. If like I'm just saying, if Beta Ray Bill is gonna be in Thor: Love and Thunder and they haven't cast him yet, like Taika Waititi, call up Nick Offerman because that just be the funniest god dang thing ever. All right, we got to move on. Unless you guys have any last thoughts on Nick
but
Offerman.
obviously let us know in the chat, especially if you're watching the archive version. Leave the comments, and we'll join in and maybe read some of them on the air in weeks ahead.
Absolutely. Okay, let's talk about my favorite thing. You guys, if you're watching the video, I might have some mentions of it around my person. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is in the news, which means I get to talk about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We have a release date for the final season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., May 27th. Did I write that? Did I remember it right after I wrote it down and then didn't have it in front of me? May 27th. We're only a month and 11 days away from new Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they released a poster that just shot right into my heart. And then they released some photos that like grabbed me by the heart. Because guys, that first poster they posted that they shared online, it's got the Agent Carter era logo of S.H.I.E.L.D. And they confirmed that Agent Sousa from Agent Carter is going to be on the show, we already kind of knew about because of some leaks and like some accidental posts from Ming-Na Wen like a year ago.
Right.
But it's confirmed now. They shared an official photo of it. I want to shout out the actor, but I don't know how to say his name.
Yeah, it's a tough name. And yes, so by the way, it being May 27th, and I did confirm that, means it's going to be on a Wednesday. And
Yes.
when we first were in our quarantine lockdown mode, we started talking about why not move it up because it's supposed to be July. And I'm pretty sure that one of the panelists on this show said what would make sense was May after they ended the regular seasons on their existing shows. So you're welcome, Zach. I made it happen for you. I convinced Disney to have it come on
They were
in the end
listening.
of
They
May
knew.
instead of July.
Look, I'm already convinced that Disney has tapped my apartment for ideas because I literally this is not Marvel specific, but last week on my other podcast, Ships and Night, we were talking about the Robin Hood Fox character.
I love him.
We were shipping him with
Robin
Fox
Hood,
McCloud,
John walking
and
through
they
the
were getting
forest.
sexy times. But that's a whole different show. We don't need to get into that specifics. But we said they'll never make like that would be that's the one they probably won't do. Like that'd be absurd. Like they make a bunch of money if they did. And then the next day they announced that they were making the live action version of Fox Robin Hood.
I might watch that. That might be
Yeah.
the one I watch.
Look, I get it. He's
Love that
handsome.
movie.
He caused like a lot of people to be into some weird stuff later in life. But anyway,
He single-handedly started the furry movement.
I mean, look, no, I'm not no kink shaming here. Like you're into what you're into.
Yeah.
Like, two consenting adults have fun. Like, look, I watched Grimm for a lot of years. Like,
So before we run out of time, Zach, how likely do you think it is that in this season of S.H.I.E.L.D. we're going to see Haley Atwell?
I put it at, I would say 50-50. Like honestly,
I think there's a chance, but I also think it's not a guarantee. It's not necessarily a lock. Yeah.
Here's my. They're doing Agent Sousa, so they're clearly trying to tie up some loose ends from Agent Carter. The main question becomes, I think Haley Atwell would absolutely do it. I don't think that there's a question of whether you could get Haley Atwell to do it. The question is, will Marvel proper want her to do it because we ended her story so beautifully in Endgame where she met Cap? And yes, this might be before that happened, and it would have to be honest. Like, I mean, I guess you could be like, she's referencing her like, yeah, Peggy left me for this guy, Roger. I don't know who he is or where he came from, but they're happily ever after now. So I think you might see a nod to it, but I feel like they're not going to want to step on the Endgame story by bringing her in.
I think that's that would be the only reason we don't see her. I mean, she's been on the show before. She's been on S.H.I.E.L.D. So I would love to see her. I do think if we don't get her, that's going to be the reason why. So
and it's
I hope that's not the case, but I think that's what'll happen. Yeah. But
yeah,
I'm going to hold out hope until the final episode airs that she'll be in it. So
I'm just happy that they're going to try to clean up, because that was one of those shows that got canceled before, like it had storylines set up that it never got to pay off. And I'm hoping that they can, like, they're sort of reverse engineering a final season by using the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. final season. I also have a prediction I wanted to throw out there for this season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. based on like the fact that we're time traveling now and we're clearly doing Agent Carter. So we're tying those things all together. I think, and this is like, I hate, part of me hates to say this, I think by the end of this season, they are going to do some time-space manipulation to retcon Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. into a different universe.
I don't like that idea, but it's so logical. I feel that's very likely to happen. Unfortunately,
it won't, like what you do there, like basically you create an MCU universe 2. You create universe 199,999B, which is where S.H.I.E.L.D. will take place, where the MCU pretty much all happens as it happened, but Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. didn't happen in the MCU proper, so that like there's no like weird, where was Coulson during all this, and like they're having to take so much work, do so much work in time travel to be like, why wasn't Quake at the Battle of Wakanda? Because like she's a top tier like power hero. She could have messed up everybody, but they had to get her away from there, so that they didn't have to explain it. I part of me doesn't like it, but part of me is like, you know what? For the sake of going forward, I think we just live with it. And me as the guy not obsessed, I'm perfectly normally happy with this.
Right.
With Shield.
Yeah, it might as well say all work and no play makes Zach a dull boy on that board behind you.
But as we sort of wrap up here, we will be talking about Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at least a little bit every week after it airs, since it'll be like the day before we tape, which I'm very excited about. Just getting.
I think they also did that for us, Zach.
Thank you for the gift, Disney. I very much appreciate it, and I'm going to cede my time. Let me just jump in
because next week we're going to have some special guests on the show. But I wanted to have a special guest this week. There's two. We're matching in our Spidey shirts. Can you say hi, Felix?
Hi.
Hey,
and then
Felix.
also here is Lucy. Oh,
hello,
no.
Lucy.
I didn't know she had her boots on. So, okay. So she doesn't have a Marvel property on, but we still love her anyway. And a few people were commenting in the chat that if I'm at the house, why don't I bring the kids on? And this is part of the reason why, because her boot fell off. So now she's not happy. So, but Lucy, can you say hi?
Hi.
Well, that's Felix saying hi. Lucy, say hi. And Lucy, do you want to blow a kiss to anybody? Oh, wasn't that nice? Okay, Lucy, mommy's gonna help you get your boot back on, and then Felix, I'm gonna show off. I'm gonna show off your shirt again. Matches my shirt basically. Felix,
I have my shoes too.
You have your shoes on. Do you have your Spider-Man shoes on?
Yes.
So check them out. Check out these Spidey shoes.
Oh, those are so cool.
I'm so jealous.
Felix, what happens
Coolest
when you hit them on the
shoes
ground?
Lights up.
Where do I get a pair of those?
Spidey shoes.
The only reason that he has them is because they don't fit. I can't fit my feet into those shoes, unfortunately. So
the Marvel merch team needs to do better by us.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Well, Felix and Lucy, that was nice of you guys to come say hi to everybody, since people knew that I was in my house and I alluded to the kids running around upstairs. And I thought it was a fun day to put us in matching shirts. So, Lucy, can you say bye one more time?
Bye.
Oh, and there's my wife, Heather, too.
Bye, Heather.
Learning to lean right into the microphone. So there you go. You understand how that works.
Bye.
Okay. Thank you, guys. Anyway, that and now we see why I did that when we had like 2 minutes left to go.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining us here on Marvel Movie News once again for another pantsless edition. Oops, I said it again. Edition of Marvel Movie News. We will be back next Thursday at 11:15 a.m. Until then, I've been Zach Wilson. At that Zach Wilson. Xia, I don't know which direction we are on the actual.
You actually got it. You got it. That was right, Zach.
Well, that's in our boxes, but it's totally different on the
on the air box. Well, you got it for me anyway. I am Xia Anderson. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Xia_land and check out my.
I'm on Twitter and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. My personal podcast, The Blattcast, can be found at BLADTCAST.com. We're turning out a lot of episodes recently. One of them had Xia, and I've come up with an idea for one to do with Zach that I'll tell him about soon.